Rain hammered down on the jagged cliffs of Zorta Prime as the last shuttle sputtered out of existence in the gray clouds above. Ethan West leaned against the fractured remains of the escape pod, coughing out black smoke, his breathing ragged. His arm burned from the crash, and his helmet visor was shattered. "Perfect," he muttered, gazing at the endless alien wilderness stretching ahead, a labyrinth of massive, twisting trees, shimmering rivers, and shadows of creatures far larger than anything Earth had ever seen. His survival training kicked in. Find shelter. Find food. Don't die. Asterisk, asterisk. But the world had other plans. Because the moment he staggered to his feet, a shadow fell over him, huge, looming, and unmistakably alive. He turned slowly, pulse hammering, and froze. It wasn't a creature. It was a woman. At least, mostly a woman. She stood nearly 3 times his height, her skin a luminous shade of violet with faint glowing markings swirling across her shoulders. Her hair, long and black as midnight, cascaded down her back like a waterfall. Her eyes, burning gold, studied him with a mixture of curiosity and something deeper, something that made his stomach twist. She was armored in scavenge plates of some alien beast, a spear strapped across her back, but it was her presence that held him frozen, like the forest itself bowed to her. "You are small," she said finally, voice deep yet feminine, strangely musical. "Yeah," Ethan croaked, trying to stay upright. "And you're not." Her gaze sharpened at his words. Then, to his utter confusion, she knelt down, massive, graceful, and looked him over as though inspecting a wounded animal. "You bleed," she said. "You are alone." He swallowed hard. Crash landing. "My team didn't make it." Her expression shifted. A faint flicker of grief passed over her face, though not for his crew. "I lost my mate in the Sky Wars," she said softly, almost to herself. Then she focused on him again, eyes blazing. "I need a husband. And you." She reached out one massive hand, her fingers easily spanning his entire torso, and lifted him as though he weighed nothing. "You need strong offspring." Ethan's brain stuttered. "Wait, what?" Hashtag, 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 hashtag the widow's name. Her name was Coralla. She carried him through the alien jungle like a princess carrying a doll, though her expression remained unreadable. He learned fragments of her story as they crossed rivers that glowed with strange blue light, as they skirted massive beasts with tusks like trees. She had been a warrior widow of the Zera tribe, a people towering and fierce, locked in endless battles against other giant clans who controlled this harsh world. Her mate had fallen in battle a year ago, leaving her status precarious. Without a husband, she explained, she would lose her rank, her lands, and the right to lead warriors. Her people valued strength above all. But there was another law, older than any tribe. A widow could claim any outsider who survived the Deathlands alone. For such a man or creature was deemed strong by fate itself. And Ethan, crash-landed and alive, fit that law perfectly. "You will be mine," she said simply as they made camp beneath a massive tree whose roots twisted into natural shelters. "It is decided." Ethan sat by the fire she built with frightening efficiency, clutching his injured arm. "Look," he said carefully, watching her sharpen her spear with clawed stone, "I think there's been a misunderstanding. Humans don't really do the whole claim by law thing anymore." Coralla tilted her head, golden eyes glinting. "Do you refuse?" He opened his mouth, then stopped, because saying no to the 30-foot-tall alien warrior woman who had just killed a serpent the size of a bus with one spear thrust seemed unwise. Also, a tiny, treacherous part of him whispered, "She's kind of gorgeous." Not that he'd admit it aloud. Hashtag, 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 hashtag the journey. The days that followed blurred into survival and strange companionship. Coralla hunted colossal beasts with terrifying skill, roasting alien meat over fire, while Ethan learned which fruits didn't dissolve your tongue. She carried him across rivers, shielded him from storms, and built shelters in minutes that would have taken him days. But she was not just a protector. At night, beneath the alien stars, she asked about his world, about Earth, its oceans and cities, its tiny, fragile people. She listened, fascinated, as though he were telling tales of some mythical realm. In turn, she spoke of her mate, of battles fought side by side, of losing beneath the claws of sky beasts while the tribe watched. There was pain in her voice, but also strength, a refusal to break. And slowly, Ethan realized she wasn't just claiming him out of law. She was lonely, fierce, proud, unstoppable. Yet behind it all, a widow carried more weight than her massive shoulders should bear. Hashtag, 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 hashtag Trouble Brews. On the fourth day, they reached the edge of her territory, marked by towering stone pillars carved with runes. And waiting for them was trouble. A group of Zareth warriors stood there, each as massive as Karala, their armor gleaming, weapons crackling with alien energy. The leader, a scarred giant with tusks along his jaw, sneered when he saw Ethan. "This is the outsider?" he boomed. "This tiny thing? You shame your mate's memory, Karala." Ethan wisely stayed behind her enormous leg. Karala's voice was ice. "He survived the Deathlands. By law, he is mine." The warriors laughed thunderously. "Then let him prove it. Trial by combat, or you forfeit your claim and your lands." Ethan's stomach dropped. "Wait, combat? Against them?" But Karala only looked down at him, expression unreadable. "Do you refuse, little one?" He wanted to. God, he wanted to. But the pride in her voice, the faint, desperate hope, made something twist inside him. He squared his shoulders. "Fine," he said grimly. "What's the trial?" Hashtag, 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 hashtag the trial. They handed him a spear far too big for his size, clearly expecting him to fail. The arena was a circle of stone surrounded by roaring giants, with Karala watching like a queen on her throne. His opponent? A beast dragged from the wilds, a six-legged horror with armored hide and a mouth full of spinning teeth. The fight was chaos. Ethan ran, dodged, scrambled up rocks as the monster lunged. The spear was too heavy, his arms shook, and twice he nearly got skewered. But desperation breeds miracles. When the beast charged again, he planted the spear in the ground, braced it with all his weight, and the creature impaled itself, shrieking as it collapsed. Silence fell. Then the giants roared approval. Hashtag, 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 hashtag claiming in choice. That night, the tribe feasted. Karala sat beside him, towering yet softer somehow, pride in her golden eyes. "You fought well," she said quietly. "Nearly died," he muttered, nursing bruises. "Yet you lived. That is all that matters." There was a long pause. The fire crackled between them. Then she said, softened before, "I claimed you because the law allowed it. But if you wish to leave when the next skyship comes, I will not stop you." Ethan looked at her, this fierce, lonely giantess who had carried him across storms, who had watched him fight a monster with pride shining in her eyes. And he realized he didn't want to leave. Slowly, he reached out and touched her massive hand. "Maybe," he said softly, "I'll stay." Her eyes widened just slightly. Then, for the first time, Karala smiled.